Let's cross live now to Larry Johnson, a former CIA analyst and current CEO of Berg Associates. Larry, thanks for joining me today. Now, there have been reports of Hamas soldiers using, wait for it, US weapons apparently obtained on the Ukrainian black market. How likely is that?
Well, let me say this. It's probably 100% sure that the weapons were supplied by the United States. The question is, what's the source? Did it come out of Ukraine? Did it come out of firearms that were provided to the Palestinian Authority? Because I've heard that from a friend connected with Israeli sources that thinks that's where they came from. Or did it come out of Afghanistan? So the number one supplier of weapons in the world appears to be the United States. But we'll find out in the coming days, because if Hamas starts using anti-tank guided missiles, particularly javelins, then we'll know that came out of Ukraine. That'll be, a certainty.
Yeah, there have long been demands for the US to be more closely monitor its weapons supplies to Ukraine, and there was so many US arms left behind in Afghanistan. So you don't know. It could be both Afghanistan or Ukraine that was responsible for this, you're saying.
Right.
My question, sir, is that how would it get from those? I mean, are we talking about international brokers here?
Yeah. Never underestimate the power of the black market. The black market is a very efficient and lucrative enterprise. I've been involved with investigations in Ukraine and in Russia in the past with cigarette smuggling, liquor smuggling. So putting weapons of any kind is just it's another commodity, a little more pricey and much more dangerous. So there are criminal networks that make money off of this, and there are government officials and corporations that also benefit economically many times out of this. So it's not a closed off system at all. It goes to the heart of the problem in Ukraine. There are no effective controls and have not been. CBS News reported on that more than a year ago, and that report was taken down. So I think this war in the coming days in Israel and in the Gaza Strip will tell us just how extensive some of those weapon supplies have been.
It's quite ironic, really, isn't it, a little bit, because we know that Israel has also sent weapons to Ukraine, albeit small ammunition, and yet here we have them finding their way back to Hamas. But let's move along a bit. Let's talk a little bit about peace. I mean, the UN Secretary General has condemned the flare-up, obviously, in fighting between Israel and Palestine. But would the UN consider sending peacekeepers, do you think, to the region?
No. In fact, the United States is sending, right now, the United States is sending an aircraft carrier battle group. So, and you've got to ask yourself the question, what in the world can they do? What we're talking about is the capability to launch airstrikes against Palestinians. That's not going to help the cause of peace. Murat, the other irony here is, if you recall, 40 years ago, Iran was getting weapons from Israel. Israel was helping Iran. So you point to that as there was a point at which they could work together, and that was under the Ayatollah Khomeini of all people. So, Israel, they're now portraying Iran as the sole cause of the problem. And yet, Iran had a relationship with them 40 years ago. You always look at that as a hope for the future that, if they can find a way to work together 40 years ago, maybe they can find a way to put everything aside and find a peaceful way out. Because a lot of people are going to get killed out of this, a lot.
Yeah, Larry, it's devastating. Just when we thought that things were sort of calming down, here we are again, another uproar. Right. Now, let's talk a little bit about, of course, we're Russia. We want to be talking about Ukraine a little bit. But will the U.S. need to scale back its military aid to Ukraine now that its close ally, Israel is at war?
Yeah, that's going to be one of the unexpected outcomes of this. That there was already talk that they were scaling back, but this is now going to force it. And I guarantee you the members of the U.S. Congress, they were going to insist that Israel gets put at the front of the line and that Ukraine's going to go to the back of the line. And it's also going to probably embolden and make happen inspections and accounting. That something that people like Rand Paul and others have been pressing for will finally be acted upon now as part of the bargaining in order to deliver to allow Ukraine to have any more weapons. But the problem there too is Ukraine's losing on the ground. They're not having military success. And this is going to be portrayed, I think, in the media over the coming weeks as the very fate of Israel that hangs in the balance.
Yeah, Larry, I've got about 30 seconds left on the clock. I was talking to my colleague the other day. I really think Joe Biden has been a real aggressor in his term. Do you not see him as that more so?
Oh, he's an angry old man. In fact, remember Bob Gates, the former Secretary of Defense? He was the director of intelligence when I was at the CIA. He always characterized Joe Biden as having the unique gift of being able to get everything wrong. If you gave him a choice to make, he would choose A, and you'd know that B was the right course of action. Now, Joe Biden, in his demented state now, lacks even the mental faculties he had several years ago. And even then, he was an angry person, and he bullied. And so that's been manifest now.
Indeed. Larry Johnson, former CIA analyst and current CEO, Berg Associates. A pleasure, sir, as always. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.